Hey everybody, welcome back to Awaken Intuition. My name is Steve and I'm here with another video today talking to you about why it's important that we should meditate and take time, especially in our modern age of busyness today. So, as most people do, based off my observation, and I think anyone will tell you in this day and age, we're always using our phones, we're always living by the clock, we always have these schedules, and we're very, very busy people, perhaps now more than ever. We have a lot to, remember, schedules to live by, maybe interviews we have coming up, jobs, titles to fulfill, things to do, and it's a very busy time. Well, when we are also adding the idea of social media and constantly scrolling and checking things, we're basically giving our brains a lot of information to deal with all the time. And we're spreading ourselves very thin. Why it's very important to meditate in general is that it has good benefits for your mind, can reduce stress, anxiety, and fear. It can promote a positive perception and outlook on your life as well as internally. And it can just provide great joy, awareness, and mindfulness around you, right? I think everybody knows this. But the real point, I think, of meditation is to distract our brain from the clutter, right? If you stop for just a few seconds of your day, maybe 10 minutes starting off, and you sit down and try to take some deep breaths and relax, which you should, you'll probably notice that your mind is running rampant and there's constantly thoughts going on that you didn't even necessarily think you were controlling, right? They're just running and running and running. Thoughts that could be good, bad, negative, positive, realistic, unrealistic, any sort of thought that occurs, an image, a thought pattern, whatever it could be that stimulates your sense of thought. And these things are running all the time. And I think this is partially why a lot of people deal with anxiety nowadays. I mean, of course, anxiety has always been a problem, I think, but now more so in our, our world today, you see kids growing up have way more anxiety. People have way more stress and fear and anxiety. There's a higher expectation to live to. The world is just an unsettled climate right now. And I think it has to do a lot with the technology and the lack of connection and, trust and faith in what is already happening, right? In this present grounded moment. Okay, so we're always worrying about things. We're always trying to soak up information. And when we're doing this all the time, it can essentially affect our mind in a negative way. And I think that's where anxiety attacks come from. I mean, I've had plenty in my day. I'll be the first to admit it. I've had lots of anxiety attacks where I'm shaking uncontrollably. I feel like I'm literally going to die. Terrible experience, and it's happened a lot. And the more I think about it, it seems like anxiety is when the mind is overloaded with thoughts and stimulus and we just crash. Think about it this way. Your mind is everything. Your brain is the whole reason you exist. It perceives your reality. It tells you your pain, your emotional response. It allows you to see your environment around you. It allows you to visualize and obtain goals. It allows you to also visualize negative things. It allows you to exist. It allows you the freedom to do essentially whatever you want. And when this powerful machine is always running, for better or for worse, good machines, regardless, it's the brain, it's very powerful, but when it's processing information all the time, I'm positive it will lead to a crash, because anytime you have anxiety, you're overwhelmed, you're worried about the future, you're worried about if you're going to succeed, if you're going to do this, you're worried about the past, things coming back to get you, you're worrying if you could have done better, you just worry. And anxiety is the extreme worry, and it just shuts you down. And it affects your body negatively. Your body reacts. You have physical pain. You get the shakes. You feel like you're dying. You can't breathe. You're worked up. You want to cry and explode. Terrible feeling. Your whole body shuts down because your brain is trying to process all this information, and it can't. It just cannot process all that information at once. So when we don't take the time to be in our own head and relax and alleviate the thought problem, what is the word I'm looking for? The thought processing, the thought patterns, and we don't take the time to alleviate them, we're constantly on this feedback loop of just never-ending thoughts. It's the reason, I think it's the reason people don't sleep as well. And again, it has to do with the phones, it has to do with all of our issues today, but I think especially the technology and our busy schedules, and it allows us to basically just keep running and running and running. It messes our sleep schedules up. It really just kind of F's up everything. And now I know some of you might think this is hypocritical because I'm making a YouTube video for a social media platform, but in all honesty, I take many breaks, not just for making videos, but social media. I deleted my Facebook about 2 years ago, have not looked back, haven't had Twitter for about 3 or 4 years. I pretty much every other week uninstall my Snapchat and my Instagram off my phone because I'm using it too much, and I'm trying to be mindful and bring my center of awareness to this reality right now. So that, now I know I got into a bit of a sidetrack about anxiety, but it's important that we meditate because it can alleviate a lot of those things. When we take the time to breathe and relax and disassociate ourselves from our thoughts and just exist, it is a peaceful, calming situation. Now, sometimes a meditation can be followed up by positive affirmations. It can be followed up by positive thoughts. It can be followed up by positive thoughts, and basically you're trying to achieve a certain goal. And that is important. And I think there should be time for that in a day. But just pure meditation and relaxation, pure existence, and the Zen-like feeling is powerful enough in itself. And when sustained as a habit, can make a great deal in your life, a great deal of change in your life. One thing that works for me, I use the mala beads to meditate. I find them very helpful because I have a physical action that I'm doing with it, and I'm keeping track of what I'm doing essentially. And as I repeat the phrase that I'm imbuing with my beads, I'm essentially just big truck outside. I'm essentially just wiring myself into that moment. I'm not concentrating on anything else. The words are bringing me to the present moment, and I have no worries about anything else. And this peaceful, blissful state of acceptance and lack of ego and just existence and appreciation of all things, because the appreciation itself really just comes with the idea that you're content with what you have right now. There's no need to worry about what's happening, or what's going to happen tomorrow, or what's happening next hour, or how you're going to do with that thing, or what's going to happen, or how yesterday affected today. There's no need to worry about that at that moment in time. The time of meditation is to be mindful of the direct experience around you, and stillness in the mind, quiet the mind, and that makes a great difference. Everybody wants to think positively, and that's great too, you should. But if you don't take the time to clear out the system and just exist, you don't get a clean slate to imbue positive thoughts into your mind, because you're only just running around rampantly and you're not making any significant progress. The meditation clears the slate and it allows you to just exist. Anybody who's done a psychedelic, I've made a video about this about a week ago, knows that if you are in that state, you are basically in your reality. You're no separate from it. It's ego dissolving. You're at peace. There's no worries, unless you're having a bad trip, but which can happen. And you're just essentially there. And actually, now that I mention it, I do kind of want to touch on that. When people say bad trip or good trip, all that is just a representation of what's happening in your reality. So if I'm having a good trip, it's because I'm surrounded by good people. I'm surrounded by good settings, good places. I am not at fear. I have no worries. I'm in a good mindset. Therefore, my reality is peaceful and fine. When I'm negative and stressed and depressed and anxious and overwhelmed, the trip becomes bad, because I'm not allowing myself to sink into the moment. I'm having resistance, and I'm not allowing myself to just be in the peaceful moment. And that psychedelic experience makes it more obvious if you've never experienced a blissful meditation without it. I'm not saying you need to do a psychedelic to achieve that state, obviously, but it will clearly show you that this is the way. You need to be relaxed and Zen-like in this moment. Now, I have achieved this state in a psychedelic experience multiple times, as well as out of it in my own regular experience of meditation, and you just feel happy and blissful and peaceful. No worries, no rush, no anything worrying going on. And that carries into your days. As you go out afterwards, you feel less stressed, less uneasy around people. You just feel good, because you realize that it's all here, it's all happening, and you're a part of it too. You're happening and it's happening, and you're symbiotic. It's all there. Everything's happening for a reason, and you're a part of that. You're no separate thing from it. And it's just egotistical to be thinking and trying to comprehend everything. And not to mention, back to the anxiety and the meditation thing, it's a bit naive to think that we can actually digest everything around us that's happening. Think about this. The infinite details that are going on every single moment, including right now as I record this, the millions, billions of molecules moving, the things happening, the outside world right now, all the cars, the people, the interactions, the person next door, all of this stuff is happening forever, unfolding at all times. And we try to actually predict and digest all this. And while we can get right sometimes, we can sometimes assess things based off of a track record and a history, we can't possibly begin to imagine that we can digest all this information at once. And people do this though, right? Alan Watts talks about a lot in his book, A Message for the Age of Insecurity, right? And it's a lot about technology changing people and anxiety and the resistance to let go into the moment, which is exactly what I'm talking about here in a slightly different way, but nonetheless. And people try to say, oh, well, if I do this, then this person will say that, and they'll do this, which will do this, and I'll do that. But if they do this, then I'm going to do that. And they try to we all do it, and we try to predict how this is going to happen, but that doesn't work. There's no possible way that you can predict the random intuitive nature of the intelligence that is nature. You can't. It's impossible. And while you can get right sometimes, there's no way you can be on track and get it right every single time. So what's the point of doing that? If it's only going to exhaust your energy. Rather than trying to deliberately use your brain power to circumnavigate the world and predict and bend nature to your will through that sort of thinking, you should just exist and allow the course to flow with you. There's going to be random events that always happen. It could be good, it could be bad. Random job encounter, terrible car crash, good news, bad news. But you can't predict those events. They're unpredictable, right? That's what I'm saying. So there's no need to try to digest all that information and figure it out that way. Instead, rather, intuitively, by letting go and realizing that you are one with the flow of nature and this intelligence, you are a part of it. And that's what meditation does. You don't need to know all the mumbo jumbo science that I'm talking about, or metaphysics, or whatever you want to call it, or this philosophy, to feel that sensation. But that's essentially what's happening. You're letting go and flowing with the flow of time. You're not worrying about anything else, and then life works for you because it's intuitive, it's nature, it's self-organizing, it's a rapid growth and decay, and everything is just unfolding in this moment that is constantly fleeting. And when you try to resist this impossibly powerful force of nature, of course you're going to get swallowed up. You're going to get anxious, depressed, tired, fatigued, because you're trying to fight a battle that's impossible to win. Rather than fight the storm, ride the wave, adjust the sail and flow with it, and you'll be surprised at how much progress you make. So that is why we need to meditate, especially now and today with all these things going on. I hate to cut things short. I actually have to get dressed up. I have to go somewhere soon. It's been wonderful. You're probably not going to see this video till about 4 o'clock today, at least in Eastern time where I am, because I have to go here. I'm going to come home, and I'm going to edit and upload. But nonetheless, I wanted to record this now before I went and did all that. So thank you for everything. Thank you for watching. I hope you appreciate the message I've given. Thank you for your kind words. And I'll see you in the next video. Like, comment, and subscribe. Peace.